Yes, welcome, 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 and greetings, everybody, and welcome to Visionary Parenting, where we are sowing the seeds of success within us, within our children, transforming a generation to believe that they can be, do, and have anything that they desire. Now, this series, we are having powerful conversations with a variety of thought leaders and parenting experts and parents who are taking the journey to empower themselves and their children to live abundant, successful lives as defined by them. And today, my guest is Tamela Appel. Now, she is, right, let me get this right. Okay, so Tamela Appel, she is a teacher, has been teaching for a number of years now, but is very much about understanding why people do the things that they do. And that helps in us in the way that we think and the things that, and just the actions and thoughts that we have. I know I'm going to get Tamela to explain this way better than I do. So let me just introduce her. Tamela Appel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you for having me on today. I'm so excited to be here. We had a discussion about a month ago, and I felt like I've known you for a long time. So it's great to see you again.
Fantastic. And it's true. Yes, we did meet in a couple of rooms before, and we didn't actually speak, and then we came across it again, and it was just like, it was fantastic to have that connection, because we are just on the same wavelength, you know. It's that my vision is very much what it is that you're about. So before we get into all of that, just tell us your journey into what it is that you do now, and then explain to us exactly what that is.
Okay. Well, I really struggled throughout my life with one aspect of who I am. And a big part of that was that I grew up knowing that I didn't always finish things that I started. So I was in 4-H, and I would do knitting projects, or I would do crafts, and I would begin things and I wouldn't always want to finish them. And I ended up finishing a lot of them because there was an expectation at the end that they had to be done. But there were lots of activities that I have done through my life that I've started and not finished. And it has been and really was something that I did not like about myself. And when I met a friend of mine, we really discovered what that piece of myself was. And I'm going to get into that a little bit further in a little while. But on that journey, I really found out that that piece of me is a part of what makes me awesome. And it's truly something that is innate within me, that is such a strength that I have. And when I look at the children that I have taught over the last number of years, I think of the strengths that they have that aren't looked at as strengths. And I wonder if they themselves are beating themselves up about those things that are truly innate abilities rather than things that they should look negatively upon. And so I really want to show them and encourage parents that, you know what, those things that you might think are difficulties or are things that really bother you about what your child does or how they do something might actually be a real strength for them in the end. So really look at and listen to what we're talking about today, because it might change the way that you look at your child and what they do.
That is awesome. That is awesome, because when I think about it, as teachers and as humans, I think we tend to focus on our weaknesses in an effort to make them better, you know. And I think that's the way learning has been and education has been all the time. It's like, identify the gaps and fill those gaps, identify the weaknesses and bring those weaknesses up, you know. That's where the focus is. The intervention happens on the weak areas, as opposed to the strengths, you know. Yes, we do have gifted and talented programs, but you know, it tends to be focus on the weakness. It tends to be interventions that occur on the weakest point. So I think it's amazing that you can look at those and create a different perspective on that. So I'm interested and excited to find out more about this.
Yes, absolutely. It's really it's great. We have a lot of, there are three aspects of the mind. Let me start there. So the three aspects of the mind are the cognitive aspect. So that is what we know, it's our experiences, it's our education, and that changes throughout our lives. Then we have the affective aspect of the mind, which is your feelings, your values, your desires. It's where your personality lives. And those two aspects of the mind, the cognitive and the affective, change throughout our lives, right? Our knowledge is always growing. The way we feel about things change, our attitudes, our personalities can change. But then there's an aspect of the mind called the cognitive aspect of the mind. And the first two, cognitive and affective, have a lot of personality tests, IQ tests built around them. So you can measure those in various ways. The cognitive aspect of the mind has only one way to measure it. And it is about the way that you take action. It is the doing part of your being. It is instinctive, so you do it without thinking. And it is really your innate force. It's your talents. And for me, some of it is the piece of not always completing things that I begin. And there's a reason that I don't. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But in the cognitive aspect of the mind, there are 4 areas. And it's all about the instinct. So the first one is your probing instinct, or your need to investigate, your need to gather and share information. And that is one of your innate abilities. Everybody has a level of this innate ability, the probing instinct, but some people have more of the probing instinct and some have less. And we call that the fact finder. So it's how we're gathering and sharing information. And then we have something called the patterning instinct, which is your need to create order, or your need to systematize and to organize. And that one is called your follow-through instinct. Then there's also the innovating instinct, which is your need to experiment, and it's how you deal with risks and uncertainties that happen in your lives. And then the last one is the demonstrating instinct. So it's being able to take things and create hands-on, a tangible form of something. So builders, really, anybody that is like mechanical, those people are definitely, if they're using their natural instinct, that is the implementer in them. And I'm going to just show you quickly what I look like when I look at those instincts. So my fact finder, which is my need to investigate, is a 5. So it's on a scale of 1 to 10. And I'm a halfway. Like I like to get enough information that I can satisfy my need, but I don't need all of the information. And my partner is a little bitty 2 in fact finder. So when I want to tell him something and I feel like it's important, I give him the top 3 points, because after that I might have lost him. Right? So he doesn't need as much information, whereas I need a little more. Then in the follow through area, so this is the patterning instinct. So organizing and systematizing, so creating order. You can imagine that my desk at school was an uncategorized vertical filing system, or in other words, a pile, right? But I knew where things were, and I didn't need to be organized in files. It didn't matter to me.
So
Okay.
organized chaos.
Organized chaos. That's right. That is what this says about me. It doesn't mean that my house is a disaster, because I do need to have certain things in place, right? But it means that I don't need everything in place.
Yeah.
And then quick start, which is the way I deal with risk and uncertainty. It's also my innovator, right? I have a lot of innovator. I'm a 9 in that. So I really deal with risk and uncertainty and change very well. I can change in a second. Like if something is not working in my classroom, I just switch and move to something different. I can shuck and jive with it, and everything's okay. I don't need to have everything working as is, right? Or as people think it should be. I can change quickly. And my implementer, so my talents in building and creating tangible hands-on form, is a little bitty 3. And these are what I do innately. So when I do a task, I will first start with my quick start. So I'm going to be innovating. I'm going to be trying to brainstorm and come up with great ideas for that task. And then I go to my fact finder. If I can't figure it out by brainstorming, then I'll go and I'll research. And then I'll go to my follow through and implementer. I'm going to give you an example of how this worked in my life with my daughter, because my daughter is a 4 in fact finder, so she's close to me. She's a 4 in follow through, so again close. 3 in quick start. So she doesn't like a lot of change, really. She likes to be warned ahead of time, but she is a 9 in implementer. So when she's creating something, I'm going to use a salad as an example. When I make a salad, I throw in the lettuce, I throw in the nuts and the fruits and the whatever I need to throw in. And it's all tossed together, and I put on my salad dressing.
Yeah.
But she is a 9 in implementer. She wants it to look and feel beautiful and perfect, so that the person that's receiving that salad is like impressed with how it looks. So to her, the way she builds it is important. So she puts on her lettuce and she lines up her fruits and she puts her nuts on just perfectly. And, so she creates it in a way that it looks wonderful to the person who's going to eat it. I don't have that need. So when I make a salad, it takes me 2 minutes. It takes her about 10. And it's like, why is it taking you so long to make that salad? And so when she was growing up, doing the dishes, she would take 1 fork and she would spend a lot of time scrubbing that fork or the plate. She would really work at getting it looking as clean as possible. I would just be, and put it in. It's about her instinct. It's her innate ability. She's a builder. She is going into, or she has her natural nutrition, and she's getting her practical herbology. She's the kind of person that would go and pick the perfect leaves to go and make a tincture for somebody, because it's important to her to have the best quality. So you can see how me not understanding that about her is thinking, oh my God, you're wasting time. Let's get moving,
Yeah.
And so when I know that about her, and I know that that's one of her instincts, then I respect and appreciate that about her, and think about how wonderful it is that she's taking so much energy to put into something, so that she shows her pride in that, and she shows her appreciation to nature, to the people around her, and it's fascinating that I now know that. She's 20 years old, and I didn't find that out until this year about her,
Yeah.
And so it's really
can easily be her easily be, like you say, what is different to you, but is her strength. So whatever work she goes into, the detail that she will bring to it, the that I can see that just being magnificent, because the attention to detail that she will bring into what she's doing will mean that whatever she's creating will be of such a high standard, such magnificence, that people then will be able to pick her out for her attention to detail for whatever it is that she is doing. So it's an amazing strength to have, even though growing up it can feel like a come on, let's get going. What's taking so long?
Right, absolutely. And so then when you think about that, about me, like I'm wanting to get things moving, and not realizing until about 4 years ago or so how different the children do things, and I'm wanting them to do them, quickly, and yet that is not what some of them need to do. I'm wanting them to do paper and pencil and get their things written down, right? Well, that's not actually how I teach, but a lot of teachers do. They want them, you write this down, you do the assessment, it's pen and paper, a lot of it, but if we took a step back and we looked at, a lot of these children are actually innovators. They actually need to be brainstorming. They actually need to be getting their ideas out there. Some of them are implementers where they need hands-on. So that paperwork, the paper and pen are great for the fact finders and the follow-throughs, because they're wanting to do the research. They're wanting to follow through and organize everything. But the people that are quick starts and implementers are, oh my gosh, I've got so many ideas. I want to try all of these different things, or I want to create all of these different things. And this is how I can show you that I know the information, is by creating. And yet we don't always allow them to do that. As parents, as teachers, as community leaders, we need to stop and we need to take a look at where these children are, what strengths they have, because what we do is if we get them to do things that are researching and follow through, and that is not their innate way of taking action, we actually put them into a mode of stress. We put them into cognitive stress, which puts them into that fight, flight, or freeze part of their brain, which it takes 20 to 60 minutes to come out of once you're in there. So allowing children to do things in their innate way, using their instincts, really, you're going to get so much more work out of them, and it's going to be better quality because it's the way that they really innately take action.
Yeah. How does that relate to, so as teachers, we know about the different ways of learning in terms of audio, visual, and kinesthetic. Now I can see the implementers as the kinesthetic learning, hands in and so forth. But how does the other aspects of cognitive work with that kind of learning? Am I missing some connections?
No, it's, there are connections, but I think that we look at those in different ways, because we can be looking at, the visual learner. Yes, they can learn visually. They learn by looking at things, by reading things. Some of that is part of the fact finder. Some of it is part of the patterning, but that can also be part of the implementer, and it can be part of the quick start as well. So it's a different way to look at it, but that's not the cognitive aspect of the mind, because it's not the instinctual way of seeing things. Kinesthetic learners, yes, they do learn by doing things that are hands-on. They'll also learn, you have to take into account their affective part of their mind as well with that. So the visual, the tactile, again, they don't quite fit with the cognitive aspect of the mind, but they do fit with cognitive aspect of the mind for sure.
So again, this is something that where people listening for the first time might be thinking, is she talking about cognitive or cognitive? Which one is it? Is she mistaking the word cognitive for cognitive? Because I know when we first started talking, and I was like, do you mean cognitive? And you was like, no, it is. And I had to go and look it up and look up exactly what is cognitive. So again, I just think it's something that needs to be highlighted further, in that they are two different aspects of the mind. It's actually two different things.
They are. And if you search cognitive, it will often autocorrect as cognitive. And so some of the posts that I have done, I've had to go back in and change because it autocorrects for me. So cognitive is actually spelled Conative. And Kathy Colby is the woman who has done all of the research and study behind the cognitive aspect of the mind. And she's brilliant. Her father actually designed a personality, or he designed the Wonderlic test. And so his test was something that she then, as a child, was able to see how he designed that, and said, you know what, I get this. It's about intelligence. It's about your IQ. But she says there's something that's missing. There's a piece of the test that's missing. And she said, I want to find out what that is. And she discovered the cognitive aspect of the mind. And that's where the tool comes in that I utilize with children and families in order to have them see, how does my cognitive aspect of the mind, how does it match with what I'm doing in life, what I'm doing instinctually? Is it matching with where I'm going in life? And it can even be for teenagers or young adults, or even adults. Like, am I in the right job? Am I looking at the right career? Because sometimes, especially when teenagers don't know what area of work to go into or what line to study, they'll go to what their parents did or what the people around them are talking about, even if it doesn't match any of their instinctual ways of taking action. And so if they know what their instinct is like, and can understand, if they use their probing instinct, their patterning instinct, their innovating instinct, or if it's their demonstrating instinct, they can know a lot more about what jobs would best suit them, so they're not put into cognitive stress. And if we know that about the students in our classrooms, we can also do things that will take them out of cognitive stress as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I just looked it up again. So it says, for the definition, an inclination as an instinct, a drive, a wish, or a craving to act purposefully, an impulse or sense, other words from conation. So it's literally your instinct, your
drive,
intuitive, your drive, that in, and it's your inner being. It's your inner being that is moving you in that direction. So for me, when I hear that and I see that, and I think, okay, so cognitive is connecting with my inner being, my instinct, my internal drive, my understanding of myself, to know what it is that is pushing me or pulling me from whatever it is that I say that I am going to do. And if I'm being pushed towards it, then that my instinct is moving with that. And if I'm being pulled away from it, then my instinct is telling me that something is amiss. And it's that internal structure, that internal being. So the more you understand that, the easier it is to even then connect even further with your inner being.
It is. And how I was talking earlier about how your cognitive aspect of your mind and the affective aspect of your mind changes throughout your life. Well, the cognitive aspect changes very little, if at all, throughout your life. And the tests will show that. Somebody who's tested at a younger age, and then if they're tested again when they're older, the change is very, very little. So my 5393 would have likely been that even as a child. So when we test children at age 10 and up, you know, we really see that this is the way that they take action now is going to be how they will take action throughout their life. Now, some people, the very, very, very odd person will have a change that is significant enough to show, but most people don't. And, you know, can I follow through on things? Absolutely. I follow through on things all the time. Is it an innate instinct for me to do so? No, you know what? There are lots of things that it is difficult for me to follow through on, but as an adult, you know, I know that I need to complete certain tasks, and I know that I need to get, like, report cards, for example. Painful, 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 painful for me. But I'm telling you, I get those done, right?
I would say they're painful for everybody. I don't know any teacher that enjoys doing report card and finds them a breeze or anything. It's painful for everybody.
Yes, and then you can imagine it being even more painful when I'm a little bitty 3, right?
Yeah.
The way that it works is these are like bars of energy. So I have this much energy when I'm doing research. That's as much energy as I have. When I run out of energy in my fact finder, when I run out of energy there, I have to literally remove myself from doing that task, or I'll put myself into stress. I can go do something that is brainstorming or being creative and innovative, and it will build my energy back up. Then I'll have more energy in that line again. So you can see, I don't have a whole lot of energy when it comes to follow through. So when it comes to report cards, like we were just saying, like I would work on them for a little bit of time, and then I'd have to go do something else in my classroom or at home, and then work on them for a little more. And then, you know, so that they eventually got done, because that's how it works. They're bars of energy. So when you run out of energy in an area, you need to remove yourself and go do something different, because you just don't have it to give anymore. It's just like when you run out of energy in a battery, you either recharge it or you get a new one, right?
Yeah.
And
that makes absolute sense.
Yeah, and so in the classroom or at home, if your child is working on a project and you know what, they say they need to stop, listen for that word need, because if they say they need to stop, it is actual instinctual need. It needs to happen. Or if they're just, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, that's a want. That's not I need. It's not an instinct. But listen for that word, because if they do say, I need to take a break, they actually do. Cognitively, they need to take a break so that they can continue working on it a little later without having a huge meltdown or without having real negativity around that project.
And I know that as teachers, we may not give them that space, because we may be like, right, you've got to get this done in this amount of time. This is their thingy, and you just need to get it done. And there may not be that space to, may not give them that space to say, all right, they need to do this or they need to do that, you know, and being open. And I know it can be a lot trickier when you're dealing with a class of 30 children, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible to do these things and to allow it to happen. And it doesn't bring about chaos in the classroom either.
Right. And you know, when you talk about, yes, we need you to get this done at a certain length, or when it needs to be done, people who have like a higher fact finder, and especially people that have a higher follow through, if you have a classroom and there's a student who has a higher follow through, they might want to continue working on that project till it's finished. They might not want to move on to something different. So you'll have students and maybe your children at home who will just wait, I'm almost done. Let me finish this, right? And so they are longer follow through, and they literally, you're putting them into cognitive stress by not allowing them to finish that project. You know, so really chunking things and letting them know, you know, this chunk we will do today, this chunk we will do tomorrow, you know, so that you have that expectation set up so that they know, oh, I can only do this much today. So they know there's an end point for today. Or for other children who need to move on and not finish everything all at once, okay, I'm going to get you to do question 1 today, you know, making sure they know there's a limit. You don't have to do it all today.
Yeah.
So but having those reminders, or allowing them to know that, you know, there are going to be limits as to where they go or how long they're working on things, is important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's really enlightening, because we do see those characters in the classrooms, don't we?
We do, yes.
Yeah, that is fantastic. So, wow, there's so much. So how do we take this test? How do we find out what our
You know, the one thing that I would say is you can just connect with me, and I will certainly set you up to do that. That's not a problem at all. I'm more than happy to help whoever would like to have some support in that area, for sure.
Yeah, because I can imagine there's going to be quite a few people that would want to know what their instincts are, where they are in each of those areas, and then use that to further, you know, because once you know these things, you can then put things in place to allow you to progress the way that you want to progress, both for yourself and for your children, you know.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, right? Is for yourself and your children. I know that if I knew what my daughter's score was, it would have helped me a lot, because I knew what mine was and I knew what that meant. And so it would have helped me a lot to understand who she is, and it would have helped us to be able to work together a lot more cohesively. Not that we didn't already, but it would have helped us to understand each other even more, which the more that we can understand our children, the more that we can support them in growing and learning. So
totally agree with that one. So yes, you say people can connect with you and to find out how to go forth and create this. So is there others talking about this? I mean, so far you're the first person that I've come across and been introduced to this. So I'm wondering, is there a big scene out there or connected where people are using this modality to help?
You know, it's not really a big scene, but there are a number of people out there, and it's through the Colby Corporation, and Kathy Colby is the creator of this tool. And it's a fabulous group of people, and we really want to get the message out there so that people understand how instincts work and how important it is to know how you instinctually do things, how you're instinctually taking action, that cognitive aspect of the mind, you know. Just want people to understand, because when you understand that aspect of the mind, you understand yourself better, you look at the people around you differently, and you actually respect the way people do things a lot more, because you know that, oh, you know what? I understand that. They need all of the facts before they'll start doing something. I only need a little bit of the facts or some of the facts, but they need more. And I understand that it'll take them a little bit more. They need to do a little more research. Then they'll be a little bit happier in working with me on this project. I'm going to give you an example. My sister and I had TTSN, the Transformational Squirrel Network, was our podcast. And to get her to be able to do that podcast with me took a little bit of convincing and allowing her to do a little more research, because that's her Colby. she needed to be able to, that's the cognitive aspect of her mind. She needed to be able to do that research in order to know exactly how it should be laid out and what to move forward with. Me, with my 9 in quick start, I was like, I see the diving board, I go running, I jump, and then when I see the crocodiles down below, I say, oh crud. And she knows that about me. And so she was protecting me, right? And that's
Mhm.
how I look at long fact finders now, or people that are different from me. I look at them and I say, oh, you know what? You're just slowing me down long enough so that I can figure out if where I'm going and what I'm doing makes sense.
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm the one pulling them along saying, come, let's go, let's go, let's go. And so we need each other. And when we know what each other's cognitive aspect of the mind is, we know how we can work best together,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, that is, and you can then get the parts that match and then grow together, and you then complement each other on each other's strengths, come together and feels all of it,
Right.
all of it, so that you're achieving the picture that you're after. That's like amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I know for a fact that people are going to want to. I want to know what mine is. I'm very curious. Very curious. I got a feeling, because just by listening to that and thinking about it for myself, I think, okay, I can kind of guess to where my numbers might be in each of those areas,
Yeah, and I thought I could too. And I was really surprised when I got my results. I was really surprised. In fact, the person who did the assessment with me, I said, I have to do it again because it's not right. It's totally not right. And when I redid it, he's like, you know what? It doesn't change. It's really, if you answered it the way that you were supposed to answer it, like it won't change. But he humored me and he allowed me to do it again. And I kid you not, there was one number that changed one point. That was it.
Wow. And did you actively answer the questions differently? Attempt
Well,
to?
you know what? I thought that I maybe answered them differently. I thought maybe, I don't know. I was answering them how I honestly, innately, like if I was able to be the person that I know that I am, and there was nobody holding me back, I was not thinking about trying to please somebody else, how that would look. That's how I answered them. And that's how I answered them the second time too. And it was like, darn, like I guess it's just me. And when you think about it, like you are who you are and you take yourself wherever you go. So it was just the way that I take action. And I thought maybe, because in the school, maybe I answered it as if I was, in front of the class and was teaching. Maybe I answered it that way the first time. So I thought, okay, well, I'll have to take it again and answer it the way that I know I instinctively do things.
Yeah.
No.
But it's exactly, it was still you that answered the questions the first time and the second time. No matter what hats you was putting on, the still you came through.
It was me that came through. And it can change. Like if you're answering it in a way of you're trying to please somebody else by your answers, then your answers will be skewed. But if you answer it the way that you need to instinctively, then
wow. Okay. And how long is the test? Is the actual test?
It's 36 questions. It does not take long. It's 15 minutes to do. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to do that. And then we'll let people reach out to you to find out how they can do theirs as well. And find out for themselves and for their children what their cognitive aspect of the mind is, and use that to help them through. That is amazing. I think that's brilliant. Now there is one more thing that you do in schools that I just think is fantastic, and I think all schools should be doing it, and it's very much about what I like to do in school as well, which is the mindfulness in school with the children. And I see how that all ties into everything that we talk about.
Yeah, you know, it truly does. Because if you bring students into a place of mindfulness, you are bringing them to a place of calm where they can actually focus, and they have more focused attention to be able to learn, whether it's from parents, whether it's from teachers, or whether it's from other students. And so doing little things throughout the day. And in my classroom, right now, I'm not in my own classroom. I don't have my own classroom. I'm subbing in different people's classrooms right now. But in my own classroom, when I had it last year, I would start my day with a tapping routine. And so my students would start doing a tapping routine, and they would literally, yes, we would start here, you know, we would do our tapping, and we would tap and we would say, you know, today's going to be a great day. And we would just keep going, and we would do positive messages throughout. And the kids started their day that way. And we always did crossovers. And I learned this one from Donna Eden. And it is where you take your hand and you squeeze your shoulder and you pull down across your body, and you put pressure on your chest down to your opposite hip. And you do that on the other side as well, and down to your opposite hip. Or you can also do it where you take one hand and you tap your opposite knee, take the other hand, tap your opposite knee. So you're literally crossing over your body. Because she says that when you wear a backpack, when you wear a purse, your energy gets a little bit mixed up. So the sides of your brain are not working together. So to get them to work together, you do these crossovers. So the children will do their tapping routine and some crossovers to start the day. And then throughout the day, whether it's every 15 minutes or whenever the children start to look like they're maybe just starting to get bored, or they're not attending as you would like, bring up something else. And mindfulness routines can be anything from, you know, you make a butterfly and you tap on your chest.
Yeah.
Do that for a minute. And I literally had children who would be starting to have a little bit of anxiety in their math classes. And when they did this, and they just stopped and breathed and start tapping their chest with their butterfly, it literally brings you to a state that is much calmer. And you can feel, yeah, feel your shoulders go down. And if you're breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, and then when you stop, you can just feel the calm that goes with that. Another one that they would do is just tapping your thymus gland. Your thymus gland, when you tap it, it actually helps to produce white blood cells. And so that is something that is for helping your immune system, right? So if you're helping your immune system doing this, and then when you stop that, you can also feel that calm and relaxation. And so doing little things like that throughout the day really supports your children, really supports your students, and bringing their mind back into the present moment. So as an example, the students, especially those in math class, because math was one that I found was a little bit of a struggle sometimes, and students were really getting into an anxious state really quickly. They knew that in my classroom, if you start tapping, it's okay. If you start doing this, it's okay. And everybody respected that. And nobody ever said to anybody, oh, why are you doing that? Or anything like that. It was just known that, you know what, this is something that they need to do to help them to come back into the present moment and to be a little more calm so that they can start their work again. The other thing, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that's really, really great practices there, just that. And I just think about that because I will naturally do this.
Yeah.
And I do this, I can do this, and I do this when I'm driving in the car a lot. And that's something that I do is I tap there, and it's either there or to the side, but usually when I'm driving and my hand goes here and I'm tapping and I'm just doing something along, and it's in this area of my chest, do that. And it is, I do that on a regular basis. It's like, and I usually used to think I do this when I was thinking, when I was deep in thought and stuff like that. But it is, and someone asked when I goes, well, it's, I just find it calming. That's what I would say. It's a natural thing that I do. I find it calming and stuff. So I just do it innately. Is that was something that I would do all the time. I've never done the butterfly one, and I really like that one. And I can see how the children would just really gravitate to this one as well. You know, see how that works. And I love the idea that you start with the tapping. I would start with the breathing exercises. My favorite breath was a 4-7-8 breath that I used to love doing with the kids, and they loved it. And I'd do that at the start of every lesson as a way of letting go of the last one and moving on to the next one. So, you know, we would do that cleanse, is what I would call it, the cleansing breath. And that allowed us to just put that down, bring ourselves back to the moment, and now we're refocusing on this and stuff. And again, it's just, I think mindfulness practices, breathing practices, things that allow us to stay in touch with ourselves, to stay calm, and to teach our children to do that from a young age makes such a difference. You know, stress and anxiety is real, and it's so high, and our children experience it way more than we actually give credit to.
It's so true. And you know, the thing that helps children to release that stress and anxiety more than anything else is seeing an adult or the adults around them take the time to release that stress and anxiety for themselves.
Yes.
So when they see teachers doing that at the front of the classroom, when they see and hear, you know, when a teacher will say, you know what, I just really need to take a minute. Let's all take a minute. It's going to help me to focus, and it'll help you as well. Take that minute of breath, of mindful moment, you know, and when they see their parents do that as well, that helps them to know that it's okay and to normalize the activities that go with mindfulness. You know, Dr. Joe Dispenza is somebody that I followed a lot, and actually went to a workshop of his in Atlanta. And he talks a lot about meditation and how to get into the present moment, and how to manifest and create things. And he says, you know, when his kids were young, he would be sitting on the floor meditating, and they knew, you know, oh, dad's meditating, and when he's done, he's going to be a happier person. But he also knew that they would sit down and that they would meditate beside him. They wouldn't have done that had they not seen him do it. But because they saw him do it, and he made that a normal thing in life, that's what they did, right? Unless we make it okay as adults doing that, children aren't going to think it's okay. They're going to think it's something you should do off to the side on your own and not let other people see, right? So we need to normalize it. We need to make it okay. We need to make it a part of every day. And as adults and parents, we need to do that in front of our own kids and show them the things that can help them. You know?
Well, this is the thing that I always say, is that we have to lead by example, you know, and it's like they follow us, they follow what we do, and whether we speak it to them, our actions say it, they pick up on our essence and our energy and everything. So when I talk about sowing the seeds of success, you know, I say within us and within our children, because we have to lead by example. We have to embody all of the things that we want our children to do. We have to be doing it too. It has to flow in that way. We're no longer in that space where we can say, do as I say and not as I do. And who wants that anyway? You know, if we're talking about living successful, abundant lives as defined by us, and that's what we want for our children, then we must want that for ourselves too. It has to work together. And so I think when we go on that journey together, even better, even better, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and your podcast here is doing just that, right? It's showing people how to embrace the moments and how to show that to their children.
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic. I
Yeah.
love this. This is an amazing forum. Thank you for having it.
Well, thank you for coming on and sharing, because that's what makes it work. This was my vision, was basically to connect with all people that are doing this work, doing this, and no matter which way that they're doing it, but it's all about that transformation. And the thing here is to show that there are so many ways and so many routes to achieve the transformation for you and your family. Just find what's right for you, find the tool and the method that connects with you, that allows you to say, okay, this is how I tap into my greatness, and this is how I get my kids to tap into their greatness as well, you know, and find that and take that journey and start the journey. So this is what visionary parenting is about, is allowing people to tap in and find their way to create the vision for themselves and their families, you know. And so I'm very, very appreciative of all that comes on to share their message and share their way of doing things and helping families and children to, you know, be magnificent, because that's what it's about. You know, that's what it's about. Yeah.
Absolutely, it is. You bet. You know, the more that we can support the kids, boy, the better off we are, right?
Yes, because they will be ruling and running our world, you know, when we get to the point, where we are no longer able, which is the cycle of life, you know. So when we get to that elder part where, you know, we need our youngsters to look after us, they're the ones that's going to be doing it.
Right.
You know, they're the ones that are going to be creating what life is going to be like. So let's allow them from now to really dream big of the wonderful world that they want to create, because we will be experiencing it at the tail end of it. Right. You know, and so
and I hope that it has mindfulness and meditation and
absolutely, because what, you know, if we don't have that, what's our world going to be? What's it going to come to? You know, in that sense. And change is happening so much. There's so much things going on in the world right now. Our kids are impacted by so much things across the world. And those things can either make you feel small and less than, or, you know, feel that things that are, life is not going to be great, or you can look at that and say, well, you know, I'm creating the life that I want. I'm building what it is that I want. I can see where we can go. And that's what I want to do. You know, I want to bring that insight and that inspiration to say, do not let what's happening in the world around you define who or what you're going to be, who you are or what you can become. You know, let your imagination, let your belief, let what's happening within inside you decide where it is that you want to go. Because when you see it, when you can see it, when you dream it and you see it and you believe it, then you can do it, you know. And that's the thing, you know. So we build that into our kids, you know, and use all the different ways that they know to help them achieve the successes that they want to have for themselves. And that's what this is about. There's so many tools out there. There's so many ways that we can achieve the successes. So let's find it. There's no reason to not grow and blossom and be fantastic. There's no reason for it not to happen.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. I agree 100%. You know, it's going to move in that direction because there are enough people moving it that way, right?
Absolutely. There is. We all want that. We all want the best best that we can for ourselves and for our children. And that is picking up. I think this pandemic has allowed us to go inwards more and to really identify what's important to us, you know, and I think that being able to identify what's important to us is now allowing us to grow and move in the way that we really want to, and not be pushed about in like leaves in the wind, but really just claiming and owning what it is that we want in our lives. So, you know, there has been many pluses in this time. And if it's just by identifying that, then that is fantastic, you know, because now you're going to go forward creating what it is that you want. Okay, so I'm just looking at the time. So to just wrap up for us now, how can people get in touch with you, find it, and to do some more if they wanted to find out more about the cognitive way of mind and find out, do the test and things? How would they connect with you? What's the best way?
They can connect with me on Facebook. So it's Tamela, Tamela. Last name is Appel, Appel. They could also connect with me on LinkedIn. Also on Instagram, I also have Kidstinctive. So it's like instinctive, but it's Kidstinctive Solutions. That is also, there's a Facebook page there as well, or a Facebook, I guess it's a page as well. And they could also, those are probably the easiest ways, I'm thinking. All right. Facebook is probably the easiest.
So we'll make sure we'll drop all of those links in the chat underneath this live video so that they can reach out to you. And as I say, I definitely want to do that test. So I will be reaching out to find out more about how I can go about and doing that. And even then just to be able to come back and say, yeah, I did this and this is what I am. And so, and I like to do that. I like to explore all of these different modalities. It's good. It's good to be able to do. So that's fantastic. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your message and enabling parents to be able to understand why their children do the things that they do and why you do the things that you do, you know, in that understanding your cognitive way of mind and think and getting that test done and seeing what's happening for you would be just absolutely awesome. So just to finish off, thank you once again. As I say, as parents, we are our children's first and continuous teachers, and we must recognize the impact that we have on our children's beliefs about themselves, about others, and about the world around them, both positively and negatively. So let's be the positive and show our children how to be the best versions of themselves by us being the best version of us as parents. Visionary Parenting is here to help you do exactly that. So do reach out to us, do reach out to the guests that we present. You know, they are more than happy to help you, to guide you, to just, you know, begin that process of transformation. That's what we're here to do. So do reach out to us. Stay tuned for the next episode in 2 weeks' time. It is again going to be another fantastic conversation. So make sure you check out to see who my guest is going to be. It will be awesome. And once again, Tamela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your insight, your wisdom. It's just been awesome.
It's been fabulous to be on. Thank you for inviting me here.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Be blessed, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.